Welcome back to another episode of the Solo Scaled Podcast, a podcast of the AI driven marketer. I am your host, Ken Freire, and today I have with me Elizabeth Gregor. Elizabeth, thank you for coming on to the show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Well, Elizabeth, we're going to have a fun conversation because you are helping so many people in a unique field that a lot of people have always been intrigued about. They're fascinated by, but they don't actually know how to do a deep dive in. And that's in the world of science. So you have a whole business on this. But first, tell us, before we dive into exactly what you do, give us like your origin story. How did you first start doing your business?
Right. So, I'm a scientist by my day job. I have a PhD in chemistry from the Ohio State University, and I graduated right before COVID. Like we're talking, I graduated, defended in December of 2019, and then of course, like COVID lockdown and all that happened in March.
Oh man.
So that caused a lot of career pivots that have to happen because you can imagine as a scientist that does things in a lab, there's a lot of things you can't do during a shutdown because it's not considered essential.
Yeah.
But really, the idea came before that. I had started a blog back in 2017 called Chemist for Christ, and I kind of did hit or miss with the blog. The blog format for me just wasn't really my cup of tea, but I started doing that, and then I started launching some videos on YouTube teaching chemistry while also teaching discipleship. And I'm a chemist. That's my background. And the idea kind of came from while I was studying and writing my dissertation. I would take time to study French. I'm not like super fluent in French, but what I noticed is when I took time away from my took breaks and maybe focused on French for an hour and then came back to chemistry, I was actually learning both more effectively. So kind of when you're learning two things at once, you're able to map one onto the other. This is one reason why Jesus taught in parables, like the parable of the sower. He's teaching about sowing seed and the plant that grows from it. And then, the disciples had to ask more questions, ask. And that's what we do as scientists, right? And so, out of all of that, the COVID shutdown and the videos birthed this book, The Multifaceted Wisdom of God, 5 Chemistry Lessons to Ignite Your Faith in Christ. And so I do speaking for youth groups, church groups, places like that, high schools. And I'm just really passionate about science education and making that more Christ centered.
Yeah. And that's the part that I love because I remember being in school, public school, way back when. I'm gonna feel so old now when I say like back in the '90s, early 2000s when I was in school, and everything came from a more evolutionary standpoint, and it was devoid of Christ. And to bring Christ into it, I remember studying apologetics for the first time, and it like ignited my heart. I'm like, this is awesome. So to see that you are stepping into this field, because I'm sure it's an ever evolving field. There's always new studies, new things coming out, and someone to be able to communicate those truths in a biblical way is huge. So as you have been building your business, what have been some of the things that you have found that have gotten you really excited uh, for you personally when it comes to just studying chemistry and discipleship?
So, something to keep in mind no matter what subjects, if you're a coach or consultant when you're teaching, that I'm really excited about is, for example, having a book. There's
Yeah.
different modalities of learning. It's often the same information, but sometimes people can sit for a lecture and they'll learn more. Sometimes people need a lab or a workshop and they'll learn more that way. So really, there's just many different avenues and streams of income you can have even from the same idea and the same content.
And that's what you're excited about is that you're like, hey, I had this culmination of content synthesized in a book.
Hmm.
And that was
And
the
then
first one.
there's all these different ways that you can use it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some ways that you have found to use it that you're like, this has been so helpful for my business?
So the best part, and the part I love the most, is taking a book and you're able to design courses from it that go along with the book, because then you're actively teaching people, and they're able to hear it. You know, the five senses, the more of those we can incorporate, the more people will be able to incorporate that as well. And, you know, personally, like close by teaching um, to different groups and speaking as well. But just one by one, there's always something more you can be doing with what you have. It's like God like opened that box for me, and now it's like there's an infinite, you know, number of things, and now we've got another book launching as well. And then that's a whole nother set that can be incorporated.
Yeah. Tell us more about this new book that you got launching.
Yeah, so the new one, so this one is The Multifaceted Wisdom of God. The newest book is The Multifaceted Purpose of God.
Mm,
And so it's got 12 instead of 5, so expanding on that. And they're different. They're all different, of course. Um, these are all like foundational truths that are in the Bible. I'm keeping it as close as I can to what is really critical for someone that's new to the faith to understand. And I'm also keeping the chemistry at the level of Gen Chem. Somebody
yeah.
might take in college, maybe advanced AP chemistry, for the widest reach. You know, if I do something really, really deep in chemistry, there's not going to be as many people that would get it.
Yeah.
And
There's going to be five of those guys.
that may be fine for a business sense, but as
Yeah.
far as reaching, you know, the audience and helping who I'm supposed to serve, that's the best place to start. Of course, you can have more advanced products later. You know, I could reach out and go deeper in certain areas. Uh, but that's really like what God was telling me at some point is just get started.
Yeah.
And so I actually left my job to start working on this. You know, I had a job. I wasn't laid off or anything like that. He called me to leave, and you know, I'm thankful I did, because I don't know that I would have been able to start while
Yeah.
also working full time.
For a lot of people, that leap is really scary. And there's a lot of people who like haven't started their side hustle or their business. Walk us through, how did that feel? Both the, I'm sure there was like the positive, the exciting, but also the like, oh my gosh, how am I going to provide for myself kind of feeling? Like, what were all the feelings that you were walking through when you decided to take that leap?
Yeah, I mean, it's scary, of course. And it's okay. You know, we can have those feelings of being scared and it like not knowing what's going to happen on the other side. But the thing is, like, if we trust God and He is who He says He is, because He is faithful, when He asks us to do something, we know on the other side of it, there's going to be something. It's like Joshua, you know, when the Israelites were wandering in the wilderness and they finally got to the promised land. God had promised them that land. It's not like he was going to suddenly say, "Oh, you're not going to have it now." There were some of them that didn't get to go, right? Because it was 40 years in the wilderness. But he told Joshua, "Okay, it's now time to go in and possess the land. Do not be afraid." And we've got to get out of our comfort zone. So sometimes it's that comfort of that 9 to 5 that's keeping people stagnant and from doing what they're called to do. Some people can start it at the same time, you know, depending on what their particular job is, but for most people, they need some kind of push or circumstances to push them to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would say that for me, I had my side hustle going, and then it wasn't until I left my last job, I was like, okay, I'm going all. I was deciding, do I find my another job? Do I not? And I was like, nope, I'm just gonna go all in on my business, and like I had to kind of burn the ships. But I know some people might be listening to this, and they might be like, what? Am I ready to burn the ships? And the wisdom I've always used, and I'd love to hear what you think, Elizabeth, is like, hey, I have, just to give context to it, I'm married, and at the time when I decided this, I had 4 kids. Now I have a fifth. Um, I said, if I can get money coming in the next 3 months, I know I can go full in on this. And if not, I should keep it as a side hustle and go find another job. Like that was a test that I gave myself. Um, and it worked for me. I was like, oh, I brought in some monies, praise God. And then I'm like, I looked at my wife. I was like, can we manage this like in this foreseeable future? She's like, yep. So we did it that way. Um, for some people, yes, do the side hustle, but others, the wisdom I always give is like, if you're going to do it, have a really clear test on when you're bringing in revenue. Because if not, it becomes a little bit harder. Curious, how did it work out for you, and what other pieces of wisdom would you give?
So in my case, I'm married with children as well.
Yeah,
We actually, my husband, so we both were working up until the time we had our first. And at that point, we looked at childcare and went, okay, this is too expensive. And we also didn't want to send him to daycare, right? While
yeah,
we both work full time. So at that point, I worked full time and then he was staying home. So what ended up happening is I went full in on business and my husband went back to working full time. So we kind of switched to get started, which
yeah,
that way he could provide like just enough to cover the expenses, like your base level, rent, utilities,
yeah,
things like that, but not any extras.
yeah,
So that's really something to consider too. And I've heard a lot of other entrepreneurs. How little can you live with? Like
yeah,
how low can you get your base level expenses down? Um, because any startup or any company, it's going to be lean for a little while you're getting it started. And so just making that evaluation while you're still working is good as well.
yeah. No, that's a great insight, because if you have a partner, um, it can definitely help with the load. Um, let's talk more about your business right now. I'm curious, as I talk to people, everybody's building it differently. And that's kind of the fun part about this whole podcast. I'm hearing everybody's story and what's working for them, what's not working for them. I want to focus on like what's worked for you. Like what was kind of the thing that, the biggest strategy that you had to help grow your business?
So at the beginning, yes, you may get funding later. The reality is your funding is probably your savings for most people when they're starting out their business, unless they've gotten a loan, maybe they have a brick and mortar. Um, to do things the lean way, meaning that, for example, I built the website myself. I couldn't afford to pay someone else, you know, several $1,000s to build the website. Just build it
Yeah,
myself. It does take a little bit longer. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's the other thing I learned very quickly. The website, it needs to look nice, but it doesn't have to be perfect. This needs to look nice. It doesn't have to be perfect. You want to get to a product that you can sell quickly and then maybe have a lead magnet that is popular that you can start giving out and building your potential customer set. Another thing that helped me, a lot of people wouldn't think about it necessarily, but because I'm in the Detroit area, there are a lot of opportunities. They have these vendor pop-ups everywhere, like every single weekend. I don't go to them every weekend, but that actually was helpful for starting in the local community because I was able to get out there with my books and my products and just let them know the services I provide and just to start getting known in this area for that, which that basically turned into free marketing. Um, so don't even those like small things, those can come back because from a few of the events I've done, not only did I get clients for the initial events, but then those clients actually started to go and tell other people, and now that's starting to produce even more.
yeah.
in this area. Yeah.
Well, and the beauty of that is that it sounds like your product is good enough that people are referring it to others, which is a huge testament to the product itself, right? Because if you got like a few of those people, but they weren't referring you to anybody else, it's like, oh, what do I need to refine? So that's a huge play in what started working out for you in your favor. Um, is is there any? Oh, sorry, you were gonna add something to that.
No, that's definitely it. And as you get those first few clients, I did actually help a few clients for free at the beginning. Um, if you have, to, you
Yeah,
may have to do that help. So maybe some extended family, and I'm not talking about like a big project for free, or maybe a reduced price from what you would normally charge. But then that comes back with more. They'll bring more people to you on the other side of it. So really, as a business owner, you have to look at things as an investment and not dollars and cents at the beginning, especially because you're making an investment in the community, you're making an investment in whatever your business is in.
yeah, that's awesome. So, okay, as you're thinking about business, then, um, what's an unpopular opinion that you have in regards to getting clients or helping clients?
Ooh, that's a good question. I haven't encountered them yet, um, but there are circumstances I would actually say no to clients. And some people would tell
Yeah,
you, oh, you need to take every client that comes to you, right, and is interested in your services. No, you don't, because some people are wasting your time, and your time is very valuable.
yeah,
And you want to help people, but you want to make sure that you're able to help them. And so if somebody, maybe for example, someone's buying a coaching program, but they have no intention of using it, I don't want them to buy the program because I want to help people succeed, right? I don't want just like them to buy materials from me and they sit on the shelf. And so that
yeah,
may be an unpopular opinion because I know the way the world works normally, it's like get as many clients as you can in the door and just keep it going, but then you spread yourself so thin.
yeah. Well, and I even know from a sales perspective, there was a lot of people like, oh yeah, close the deal today, even though they might not use the product 6 months from now. It's okay, they'll come back. I'm like, no, they won't. Most of the time, they'll forget that they bought the thing, or they, when they do remember, they want to get their money back because it's not the time. So I've always been like, if you're not going to use a product today or in like the next foreseeable future, like it's better to just wait. So I'm with you. I've told several customers in the past, like, hey, right now is not the time. Just wait, and when you're ready, you can go for it. So, um, I want to start talking about your business. All of us have challenges in our business. It sounds like you started local, then now you're trying to broaden the horizon, or maybe you and I were just talking about that via text. But you're broadening the horizon to try to go more national and stuff like that. What challenges do you see yourself facing as you're growing your business?
Different markets, right? So the local market,
Yeah,
their needs are going to be very different. I can serve them in person, right? I'm able to drive to them. I'm able to teach courses here locally. The national market, I'd have to do things either I'd have to travel to them, which would require time, or do things virtually. So it's just a different scaling and model there that you have to consider.
yeah. Are you right now? Um, Open to the concept of virtual training, or is that kind of the thing you're like, I like the more in-person style?
I think both to have a successful business. You need
Yeah,
both. You ideally you want to keep that close connection with your clients while also having maybe the more present online courses and communities to start gathering interest. So it really does take a while to build out. This is not something you can say, okay, um, so that's another thing. If someone's able to, and they're doing this as a side hustle, side gig, start building the infrastructure before you leave. that will save you time on the back end. Um,
Yeah.
and make sure you have a viable product ready to go, so you don't have to waste any time and you can just launch.
Yeah. I like that. Okay. So your biggest challenge right now is going from local to national. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, I'd say that. Mhm.
All right. Um, well, I'm curious, what have you tried so far as you're trying to go national?
So I have been a guest on several podcasts, and that does seem to help with the reach. I'm really trying to master the social media
Yeah.
marketing at the moment and learning. At first I was just kind of posting just to get the feel of it, and then now my posts are more targeted towards what my customers' pain points would be, or showing them the why my products are important.
Yeah.
So when
Well,
you're go ahead.
no, no, go for it. I was gonna ask a couple questions, but go for it.
I was just gonna say, like, just demonstrating the need, like broadcasting more the need for
Yeah.
my services and helping those clients with their pain points on the social media post. And then realizing too, because social media, it exhausts me. I'll be honest. I'll be honest, that exhausts me. Um,
It's exhausting.
what the really big strategy that I think is helping is just coming up with all I need is 30 days worth of content, especially the way Facebook works now with their Facebook Live post. And then I can
Yeah.
just cycle that 30 days, because we assume people are following every post. They probably aren't, because it's getting lost in all these other posts on Facebook and on Instagram. And so
Yeah.
that really is helpful, because then once that's set, I can refine it as I go, make it better, maybe add additional posts, but there's not this like pulling need to always be doing a new social media post.
Yeah. Yeah. You're finding the post at work and leveraging it, making maybe tweaking the hook and stuff like that. But that's kind of been your engine so far.
Mm-hmm.
What's your preferred social media platform that you're working on right now? Is it Facebook, Instagram?
So far, it's been probably Facebook. I want to do more on YouTube. The
Yeah.
problem is most of the videos that I have are longer. And so I'm working on editing them so I can make maybe shorter segments that I think will help a lot with the YouTube portion.
Yeah.
TikTok
How
is
long
another
how long are you talking
area.
about?
Huh?
How long
I'm
are
sorry.
you talking about that? How long are the YouTube videos?
So the YouTube videos, they were about 20 plus minutes, some of them longer. Um, so now I'm cutting like sections, 2 5-minute sections.
Yeah.
But TikTok is really where I want to expand, because that's where a lot of the younger generation is. And if I can kind of cut those posts down and put some of them on TikTok, I think my business will start getting a lot more customers in the door too.
Yeah. Who would you say is like your ideal customer as you're thinking about it? Because I imagine that your initial ideal customers are like school principals in the local area, trying to get into the larger audience. But now it seems like if you go to TikTok, you're going straight for the individual. Curious who you're going after.
So the marketing has to be different, right, for each individual. So while my products, you think about this is mainly written maybe to a high schooler or a college student.
Yeah.
Um, while I'm mainly serving them, it's usually the parents that buy,
Okay.
right? But most of the high schoolers are on TikTok. Um, so if they see it and they're interested, they might tell their parents about it. So you have to have a different strategy for that. It's like, it's not necessarily like it's the same product, but I've been learning about how you can have the same product, just you're going to market it differently to different groups. Another big, huge clientele I'm finding is the homeschool crowd,
Yeah.
because there's not a lot of materials for them with the particular. um, so I'm learning also too how my products can have multiple uses, which is really useful as an entrepreneur, because then that's just less content work that you have to do.
Yeah. Well, I have 5 kids and we homeschool them, and we just started doing science this year. And we got one book where we're like, it's good. It's a good overview. But we're like, man, I love science. So that was part of the reason why I was like, oh, I got to get Elizabeth on the podcast because I was like, I want to hear about her business and also her books. Um, but it's fascinating how like finding good, robust, um, theologically rich books are missing within the science world. So that's the part that excites me, is that you are finding that niche, and I'm sure like once you start tapping into it more and more, like homeschoolers love it. Like when especially there's curriculum out there with it and books out there, you can totally leverage that.
So I'll say this: when I started, to be honest, I was doing it by obedience. I was doing it to
Yeah,
be obedient. Like I felt God leading me to do it, and I didn't. This is before this became a business, right? I didn't
yeah,
know why He was asking me to do it, because when God asks you to do something, there's always a reason why He's having you do it. It's not just like for you to
yeah,
do it, just to be doing it. Anyway, so I he kind of like percolated this in my brain right while I was in graduate school, and I was busy at the time trying to finish the PhD and all of that. But there's a reason why he asked me to do it. I just didn't. At the time, I was like, who in the world, like, who wants this, right? Like, who am I writing to? I'm just, I'm just doing this because he's asked me
yeah.
to, and then here it is. It's not really until maybe 2023 or 2024 that he started showing me who it's supposed to go to.
That's awesome. I follow this woman on Instagram. I'm trying to remember her hashtag. I think it's like the no shameless sales game or something like that. She's great. But she does this thing where she interviews or she finds the weirdest things people are selling online. Like I mean, like some of it is like just kind of weird, and then there's other things that like they're selling. It's absurd. Like someone selling their like old clipped nails, like nail clippings, and just something. And her pitch is always like, "Hey, look, if someone's selling this stuff that's so weird online and making money, you can sell the thing you're passionate about or you're being obedient with." And your thing, I don't put it in the category of weird. It's like, oh, it's great. Let's do that. And I'm encouraging people who are listening to this, like you probably have a business and it's impact business. You have a heart for it. You're like, man, I really want to do this. There are people out there making money on the weirdest stuff. Like you can go make money too. Now, learning the marketing, learning the sales, learning how to pivot, learning social media, there's skills that you need to go along the way. But I'm excited for you, Elizabeth, and I'm excited for people listening to this because hopefully this gives them an encouragement to keep pushing forward.
I think it will. Everybody has at least one talent. In the parable of the
Yeah,
talents, there wasn't a single servant that wasn't given at least one. Some are given more than others. But really, just your listeners out there, to fine tune and hone in, what is your expertise? Maybe if building a website and all of that is too much at the beginning, start with a book. Just start with a book on your
hmm,
expertise. If developing a product is too much, just start with your expertise. If you've been a nurse for 30 years, if you've been a teacher for 15 years, whatever, if you've been a lawyer, yeah, I know with law there may be some restrictions there. But a real estate agent, things like that, turn your expertise in a book, and then that at least will get you started.
yeah. That's for us, our medium is podcasting. Like we love podcasting. That's the thing that we've done. And just recently, we're recording on the 9th, but on the 8th, we finally finished all the edits and got our book published and live.
Oh,
And we
wow.
did it all through podcasting. We literally took all our podcasts and like our outline and the book, and we used it, and we talk about how we used AI appropriately with it. But we did it, and we're like, wow, this book would have never come if we never podcasted. Like I just know to sit down and write, I'm better at speaking than writing. So it's just been fun. So I'm I'm with you. Like helping people find the medium that they love is going to be really important. Elizabeth, I want to transition as we wrap up here and talk about and I mentioned this in every podcast episode. We have what's called the Fast Five. I'm doing a trend report on 2026 of all the expert led business owners and what they're doing, what they're playing around with. Some of it you might have already answered, but it's just the same 5 questions I'm asking everybody. And what I'd love for you to do is answer them as quickly as possible, like 30 seconds. Doesn't have to be long. And I promise I won't give any feedback as I'm talking. I'm just listening. So, question number one is this: what's something in your business you're experimenting with right now?
That's a good question. I'm experimenting with school. Maybe you've heard
Oh,
of
yeah.
school.
Yep. SKOOL. Yeah. Are you trying to build a community with it? Are you trying to put all your courses in it? What's the experiment look like?
Uh, Use it as a course hosting,
Yeah.
but then look at the other kind of branch out into its other functionalities.
Sweet. Okay. Question number two. What part of your business feels like it's the most influx or the thing you're working on the most these days?
So for me, honestly, it's making more content because yes, people will buy a single book, they'll buy maybe a second book, but like you said, the homeschool crowd, they really want something that completely covers what they need. And that takes time. You can't build a
Yeah.
curriculum overnight. And so I'm doing, some marketing to get some clients, enough to stay in business, but then working on that on the back end.
Yeah. Okay. Love it. Question number three. What's a goal you're building toward this year that you're really excited about?
I am really excited that I'm praying and Lord willing, we'll have a full chemistry course ready to go in August for, say,
Nice.
like targeted towards that AP chemistry or maybe Gen Chem level.
Yeah.
So that
That'd be
would
really cool.
be, that's our goal and it's doable. It's just going to take quite a bit of effort. So definitely look out for that because I think the homeschool crowd especially would enjoy that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um, All right. Question number four. Where do you see the coaching industry or the like course industry shifting and how are you preparing for it?
So the coaching and industry as a whole, is in flux. There's a lot of people looking for coaching for whatever. I really it's that community they're looking for too. So I see a lot of that as well. It's not just about me as a science coach, but are there other people they can connect with? Because when you're paying for a coaching program, you're connected to the other clients as well.
Nice. All right. Last question. What's one habit or legacy that you're wanting to leave behind for your children?
Really to just do things. A lot of times we're afraid because we're afraid of failure, right? We're afraid that, oh, what if this doesn't happen, or like what if it doesn't work out, or what if I do this or that or that. But that's not walking in faith. Faith is saying, God, I trust you when I can't see. And so I really want to model for them,
Yeah.
what does that look like?
Yeah. That's great. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being on the podcast. As people are listening to this and they might be like, man, one, they want to get a hold of your curriculum, or two, they want to connect with you because they vibe with you. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
So we have an email called info@scienceforchrist.com that you can send us an email. We have a website, scienceforchrist.com as well. That's probably the quickest way you can get a hold of me. Of course, we have Facebook. Just do a quick Google search. You can find us, YouTube, all of those.
Sweet. And that's science for the number four,
The number
Christ,
4, yes.
correct? Awesome. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.